Thanks for coming. My name's Tasha. I'll tell you, today what we'll do is I'll tell you a little bit about my background and how I came across doTERRA and how I met Melissa and why the heck I am teaching you how to sell more essential oils tonight. We'll cover some philosophies to closing and really define what it is, and then I'm going to give you the top 5 things that make closing a fun process for you and your customer. Potential customer then turns into customer. Before I get going, you know, I can spend time on, as I go through the material, questions that you guys might have. So did any of you guys have like questions or things you want to make sure we cover today when we talk about closing?
So I would love to hear your answer with what you say to people when they just want to think about it.
Okay.
When they what?
When they just want to think about it. They want to take those enrollment kits.
I like that.
And they want to think about it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I will absolutely do that. I'm going to just screen, and my notes are on my computer. My printer's out of ink, of course, right? As I went to go print the thing today. So if you see me shifting a little bit, shift the eye contact, it's just because I'm looking at my screen. Is that cool, guys? All right.
Great.
Well, first, I don't need the thing to tell you who I am. So, so I met Melissa through one of my friends, Joelle, who also has doTERRA. She was one of my previous employees. And what I do is I run a sales training and sales coaching business for people in network marketing. And how this all kind of started is I used to sell Cutco knives. You guys, who's familiar with Cutco knives? Yeah? All right, cool. So when I was in college, I sold Cutco knives. So I was that kid. And then I ran my own office, did really well, then went and got a real corporate job. And I was a recruiting manager, which wasn't technically sales, but really it was, right, recruiting. And so I learned a lot about motivation and connecting with people. And in that job, I listened to thousands of phone calls. So I really started to understand the customer's point of view and perspective. About a year ago, I thought, okay, well, I should start my own business so I can work from home and not leave before my kids wake up. And I'm sure that sounds familiar to a lot of you guys. So I said, I will teach people how to sell stuff. I would like to teach entrepreneurs how to sell their stuff if they have no sales experience. But I didn't know where I was going to find them. So both my kids do karate. I have a 3- and a 6-year-old. But my oldest one at the time, I was at her karate class, and one of the moms came up to me and handed me a flyer for her essential oils class. And so my dad is a doctor, my in-laws are pharmacists, so I didn't even know what the heck it was, but she looked me in the eye, she said, you should come, these things changed my life. And she was not like she was just like a really straight up person, and I was like, that is interesting. So I responded with, I will if you listen to my podcast.
Awesome.
So we made the deal. I went to the class. She listened to the podcast. She listened to 4 or 5 of them and was like, oh, I want to hire you. And I was like, I don't even know what that looks like. Okay. And so I ended up coaching on the side 2 doTERRA wellness advocates here in Southern California. And they did really well. That first one, Catherine, was making $50 a month on average for the past 2 years. And that next month, she made $450 for the month. I mean, obviously a little bit more involved than a 20 to 30-minute deal, but so she did really well. So I did what every other crazy missing their kid's mom would do, right? What did I do? Quit my job and said I'm gonna start teaching entrepreneurs how to sell, but I'm gonna focus on network marketing because of the knife selling job. I learned a lot of stuff there. If you can sell $1,000 worth of knives to a housewife who doesn't know you're coming over to sell them knives, you know, a family physician's kit is a piece of cake when they know what that is, what essential oils are. So that's my background. So my company is called Emerge Sales Training. And so I interviewed Melissa for my podcast that I went live last week, right? Or the week before? No, I don't even remember anymore. But she was gracious enough to do that, and we're kind of 2 peas in a pod. So as a return favor, I offered to chat with their team and help you guys close more sales. Okay, so that's me. That's where I come from. Because I am a customer, I have a very unique perspective. So I came into doTERRA as a customer, not as a business person. And I think what makes it different is that I will always think and look at what serves the customer best first. But when you think about it, you know, in the hierarchy of needs in your organization, your customer's first, your team is second, and you are third. And if you put your customer first and your team second, and then your business is going to grow and flourish. So everything that I teach is designed to be very comfortable and customer-centered. And, you know, that's really, really important. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into my little outline here. And I'm hooked, by the way, like they're everywhere. All right, here's my Serenity because I run my own business. And my little cheap diffuser. Don't ever let anyone get a diffuser on Amazon, but that I digress on that. All right. So what is closing? So there, you know, there's a lot of culture out there, like closing is something you do to a customer. There's Glenn Ross, always be closing. And it has this connotation of this like icky, like I win and you lose kind of mentality, right? And I'm sure you can kind of feel that. But my working definition of closing, and so this is something you can jot down in your notes, is to help someone move forward on an action they already want to take. So to help someone move forward on an action they already want to take. You know, there's a saying, you could sell ice to an Eskimo, but I would never do that because Eskimos don't necessarily need ice. You know, we would sell jackets to an Eskimo. So really meeting their needs is really important. And so there's 3 areas in your business where you need to learn how to close. And the first area you need to learn how to close in is obviously conversations about your products, right? That's the one we think of first, which is, you know, the buying of the kit. The second area where you need to close and use closing skills is in sharing the business opportunity. And the third, in execution plans for your team members. So what this means is, let's say you want your team member to do XYZ, you know, like call some people and set up a few one-on-ones. Well, you actually need to go through the sales process with them to ensure that execution. So as I go over these components, the easiest thing to look at will be just your like one-on-one or your class. But I also want you to think about it in terms of those other situations where you need to, you know, have some sort of closing process. So right now I'm going to go over the 5 areas that make closing an enjoyable process for you and your customer. Okay, you guys ready?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, let's do this. So the first area that makes closing an enjoyable process for you and your customer is to give an agenda so there are no surprises. People don't like surprises, especially when they're about to be sold something. Have you ever gone to start your class or your one-on-one, you see they're all tensed up, like what are we doing, where are we going, how long is this going to take? Yeah? So how about we just tell them? Right? It's kind of crazy. How about we just tell them, today we're going to go over your health goals. I'll repeat this a couple times so you guys can jot it down. Today we're going to go over your health goals, talk about how to use essential oils and the most popular packages. My part will take about 30 minutes. You don't have to buy anything, but if you do see something you like, I'll help you order it today. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just say that again, and then we can have a quick discussion around it. So today we're going to go over your health goals, talk about how to use essential oils, and the most popular packages. My part will take about 30 minutes. You don't have to buy anything, but if you see something you like, I'll help you order it today. Still ready? You want me to do one more time?
Yeah, I went to that last one.
Today we're going to go over your health goals, talk about how to use essential oils, and the most popular packages. My part will take about 30 minutes, and this last phrase is key. You don't have to buy anything, but if you see something you like, I'll help you order it today. So let's chat a little bit about, as you hear that, how does that make you feel if you were the customer?
At ease. Willing to listen.
Yeah, willing to listen, at ease.
Got that in
I'm
control.
going to be here 3 hours.
Yeah.
No pressure to buy.
Go ahead, say it again.
No pressure.
No pressure to buy is what she said.
Yeah. So that sentence I love to use for everything. So I like to use that when you're scheduling your appointments because you'll increase your schedule rate. If you just, because we all know they don't have to buy, right? Are you going to point a gun to their head and you can buy a kit? No, right? But there's always this tension that happens where they're like, I'm not going to buy anything, and you're like, oh, yes, you will. And now it feels like this tension, right? You guys know what I'm talking about? You felt it, I'm sure, before, right? So when you say you don't have to buy anything, what's your natural response? Oh, do not tell me what to do. You watch me buy something, right? Like, there's this really interesting psychology around, obviously we don't like to do what people tell us to do, right? So if you just lay it out on a platter, like it is what it is, people feel a lot more comfortable. And then by you saying it once, not like every single time, that's a little overkill. Don't talk them out of buying something they want to, but just letting them know, hey guys, I'm going to be cool. Like, I'm not going to be crazy. I'm not going to take all day. These are the things we're going to go over. And then you'll be able to decide. It really just makes people feel comfortable, really, really comfortable. If you insert that when you're going to schedule appointments, so, if you're connecting with someone and, this comes up and you want to talk about it, then you can say, what I usually do is set up a one-on-one, an appointment to go over your health goals, how essential oils work, the basic packages. You don't have to buy anything, but if you see something you like, of course, I'll help you order it. It'll take about half an hour. Like, who would say no to that, right? And so what that does is it helps you increase schedule rates, and then you repeat the agenda again at the beginning of your one-on-one or class. It also helps kind of rail in your crazies in a class so they know, like their friends will know, hey, you be quiet because she needs to take 30 minutes. And that helps too. All right, cool. Any questions on that one? Good. All right.
Good.
Do you ever do the tactic to have somebody time you?
No, I haven't heard anyone do that. But I feel like that seems stressful, no?
A little bit. There's one lady, like Teresa Harding, like when she does her closing thing, she says, I'm going to talk about their business for 2 minutes, and she invites somebody in the class to time her for that and tell her when she's done and cut her off.
Yeah. So Teresa Harding. So I've watched that video, and here's my professional opinion. She has such mad skills that if you implement everything she does, if you have the skills to do that, like, more power to you, go run the company. I've been selling for 15 years, and I'm not 100% sure I could implement her process flawlessly. And, like, what I do for a living is training people how to sell. So, like, I think that timing, awesome. Would I be able to pull it off? I don't know. Would someone who doesn't have sales experience, who used to be a teacher and now wants to, work around her school schedule and sell in the summer, be able to pull that off? I don't know.
Probably not, yeah. She is very intense.
Yeah, I mean, her whole background is psychology and business. Like, it's just, like, she's amazing, and every single word in that thing is total gold, but I don't see many beginners being able to pull it off.
Yeah.
Remember the context of that video, it was given to other diamonds who already had a 50% closing percentage, and in the week after the class, we're at a 90% closing percentage. It is not, that closing video was not written for someone who is starting their doTERRA business. It was not written for someone who's trying to get from director to elite.
That sure makes me feel better.
Just made it just totally took the stress out of that bubble. That was what.
Oh, good. Everybody feels better.
Yeah.
Woo!
So,
Nice.
well, good. I'm glad. The process I teach is for beginners. So I wrote it, and I was like, I wonder if this works. And I read off the piece of paper to two people, one of my friends in Hawaii and one of my friends in Vegas, and they both bought family physicians kits, and I didn't know really much about anything. So, and then one of my clients has sold 12 out of her last 12. I think 10 of them have been home essential kits with this process. So, and she's an elite.
Awesome.
So, okay, so that's my thoughts on the timer. Is that fair?
Yeah.
And are you like fanatic about keeping it to 30 minutes?
No. So what you can do is you can add, my part takes about 30 minutes. If it takes longer, it's because we're answering questions or I'm helping you decide.
Okay, you say that. Yeah, okay.
But what I've done is oh, go ahead.
No, I just say some classes are really chatty, you know, and I just find myself, and I'm chatty.
Yeah.
I find myself getting hooked right in, you know. So
Yeah, for sure. Well, there's a couple, like the first thing is the agenda laid out exactly like that does help with that a lot, right? And the control and the confidence you have helps with that as well. The other thing I advocate, which we'll get here in a minute, is to keep the first class very simple, right? So like, and I am telling you, well, how about I just keep going and then I'll get to that part. Is that cool?
Yep.
All right. Okay, so the second key to closing is gaining input. So I'm going to give you 3 killer questions that will completely change the feel of your class or your one-on-one. And these questions are at the beginning. And I will say, don't put these questions on a form. They're trust building and rapport building questions. Okay? So the first one is, what do you, after you do the agenda, just like I did today, what do you want to make sure that you learn about today? So the first question is, what do you want to make sure that you learn about today?
Which is how you opened.
Yep. So 2 things will happen. They'll either say, no, your agenda sounds perfect, or they'll start to give you their concerns. So Melissa, this kind of starts to address that I need to think about it, is really all the way through the process. But what do they want to think about? The reasons they want to think about stuff is they're super confused and they want 400 oils because you told them about every oil under the sun, and now they're just so overwhelmed they need to think about it. They want to research, which means you haven't built enough credibility in doTERRA. They need to talk to their husband, which means you didn't drop down properly. You got them really amped on the Home Essentials kit and made the Family Physicians kit look like barf. So now they need to talk to their husband before they spend $550. You didn't drop down properly. Right? Those are the reasons that they want to think about it. Is that correct?
not usually, mostly.
Yeah.
Yep. So when you sniff out their concerns in the beginning, you're not doing this except that you want them to have some input into what you're going to go over. But if they say something like, I want to learn what makes doTERRA special. Well, what that means is that when you get to that part in your one-on-one or your class, you're going to spend more time on it, and you're going to make sure to check in with them and say, okay, earlier you mentioned this particular thing. You don't answer it right there. You just make a list. But when you get to that part, because they're not going to bring up something that you don't know, right? They're not going to say something super crazy. It's usually stuff like, I want to know how much the kits are. Okay, so you make a note, buying sign. I want to know whatever about this, my allergies. Okay, great, buying sign. I want to know, and then so you have buying sign and then not buying signs, but it makes sure you know what to spend time on. So you spend time on the company credibility a little bit more, and then you check in, like, does that resolve your concern? Like, are we good? And they're like, yeah, we're good. So now they have nothing to think about at the end. They've already thought about it. Thinking over. Okay? The second question after what do you want to make sure you learn about today is, I don't want to bore you with details that you don't care about, so tell me about your health goals. So I don't want to bore you with details that you don't care about. Tell me about your health goals. So don't put this on a form. This is your most powerful trust building part of your entire thing. Right? As you're asking them, right, they're going to start sharing with you the problems that they want to solve. And this is going to be important because when you cover the oils, instead of telling them vague properties of the oils, you're going to tie it back to what's important to them. And I'll give an example of that in point 3.
Okay, I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, so if you're teaching this, like, if this is a big class and you ask the whole class at once, you don't want to put this on form, like, what are all your health goals? Are they all just forced to start naming them off to the class?
Yeah, that's a good question. So how big are your classes usually?
Maybe 5 or 6. They're not
perfect. So then a great way to do this is just to go round robin. And just say, okay, so let's go ahead and maybe say your name, how you know our hostess, and I don't want to bore you guys, so tell me about a few of your health goals. Now, they may not give you their deepest, darkest health goals, but they're going to say the normal stuff, right? Like, I don't sleep well, or stress, like, I mean, think about the things people post on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Like, even if you're a little bit private, 90% of America is not. So you may get one person that gives you nothing, but most people will just go ahead and say, yeah, I don't want to be bored with information I don't care about. Here's what I care about. Right? Yeah. So it's designed. Ultimately, you don't, right? Do you want to go on and on and on about CPTG if they don't care?
Not really.
Right. So I mean, you're really trying to serve them, and usually it's pretty good. Now, if you run into a situation where they don't understand the question, or they give you nothing, you can do what's called thought joggers and just give a couple of ideas. Like, a lot of people are trying to, manage their whatever. Like, just give a few categories, and that usually gets them going.
So, Brooke, I've done this with a class of about 10 before, and it doesn't take as much time as you think it would. I did, just like last month, I had a class that was it was a pretty big class, probably 10 to 12 people there. And I did do that. And I didn't write it down, which I need to do. Instead, I pull out oils to kind of remind me about what I want to talk about with them. They're going to address those specific health concerns. And then, of course, you guys know me. I always have to have some comic relief in there. So I always throw out some words like diarrhea or constipation just to put everybody at ease, so that if somebody has something, like, I'm like, nothing's, toe fungus, whatever. So that then people are a little bit more like, oh, well, my problem's not as bad as like toe fungus or diarrhea. So I can totally blurt my health concern out.
That's awesome. And you made me think of one thing. When you're doing a class, make a seating chart on a blank sheet of paper. So as you go through, write their name based on where they're sitting, and then write down their health goals. And what this does is this really shows how much you care about them, that you don't want to miss a thing. And then that way you have it. And you can also go, as you're going through the oils, you can go, like, come on, let's be honest, right? There's 5 people there. You may not remember one of the names, but you'll always have your reference sheet, and everybody in that room is human too. They would feel the same way you do, right? If they were speaking to 5 people that they just met.
You don't make it like a big secret that you're writing their name down.
I do not. And I also do not make it a secret that I'm using an agenda, that I'm basically going to read right from it. Because another reason is that makes it duplicatable for your team. If you memorize everything about everything, and that's how you teach your class, none of those ladies are going to want to build.
I like that.
If you read from a piece of paper and everybody buys at least a family physician's kit, one of those ladies is going to want to do it too. Customer first, team second, you third. So writing everything down and using an outline benefits your customer. You don't miss anything. Second, it benefits your team because it builds their confidence. It doesn't serve your ego, but that's third on the list.
Okay.
All right. The third question is, what do you already know about doTERRA? Have you guys ever started to talk about doTERRA and you watch their eyes glows over? Like, whoa. And they're just like, here they go again. Has that ever happened to you guys?
Yeah.
Or that, like, that's the section where they check out? You can avoid that by asking them, this is kind of a teaser question. So when I say, what do you already know about doTERRA? Are they going to know as much as you? No. But what it does is they go, I don't know anything about doTERRA. Please tell me. And now they're engaged in your company's story. And it's a great transition into talking about the company and then how the oils work.
So this is right after the agenda.
That would be right after you learn about their health goals.
Oh, agenda, health goals, okay.
Yep. So you go over the agenda, say we're going to go over your health goals, how to use essential oils, blah, 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 blah. What do you guys want to make sure you learn about today? I made a list. Okay, great. I don't want to bore you with details you don't care about. Tell me about your health goals. You first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Okay, great. What do you guys already know about doTERRA? They go, not much. Okay, great. Let me tell you about doTERRA. And so now they're engaged because you're covering something they want to know about because they didn't know about it before. Now they're paying attention versus using this as a time to text. Cool. How are we doing so far? Good?
Good.
Now, agenda and these 3 questions will probably bump you up at least 10 to 20% if you're under 50%. So we have a good start. The third area is personalized features and benefits of the Home Essentials Kit. And ultimately, what products you cover as an entrepreneur, that's your decision. What I advise my clients to do is to start with the 10 basic oils and the diffuser. Any ideas why I ask them to do that?
They understand why they want a kit.
Yep, why they want a kit. What else?
Well, you want them to be sure to know the value of a diffuser.
Mm-hmm.
So that they will always, they have to put oils in the diffuser.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something you just use all the time. And if it comes in the kit, then it's all there.
Yep, it's all there. So you're going in a kit. The other reason is, as a customer, if you go over more than 10 oils, you have lost me. It is too much. It is too confusing. And now I have a lot of choices I need to make. And then that's when I have to think about it. So now would you guys
less than 10, or do you say go to 10?
do everything in the Home Essentials Kit?
Okay.
Because if you only cover 5 of them, then why would they want to buy a kit?
Yeah, I see. Okay.
They don't understand the value, right? But if you cover more than that, so here's an example. Let's say you have someone who stressed out, right? Well, you have 2 choices here, right? You have lavender and you have serenity. Lavender is much more versatile than serenity, right? So from a starter perspective, it makes more sense to have lavender because I can not only use it to calm myself down, but I can use it for other things as well.
Yeah.
Right? When you start getting into the single oils and the, like, what I call kind of like advanced oils, right? You think of oils 101 as a customer and then like oils 201. If I don't have that foundation, I'm not going to get it. And then what will happen is you'll end up with single oils. When I purchased my enroller, I love her to death. She didn't do these things, which, right, that's fine. And I left with Serenity and Deep Blue. What the heck am I going to do with those, right? Like, I mean, obviously I'm going to do something with them, but a week later I was like, this is ridiculous. I need a family physician's kit.
So, Tasha, what do you do if somebody has a health concern that cannot be addressed by those 10 main oils? Because that's my problem. Like, so somebody goes, oh, you know what? I really am struggling with hormone support. How do you address that without bringing up Clary Calm?
Yeah, I'd work with them one-on-one.
After the class is over? Okay.
Yeah.
And then
Do you just say that to him?
Yeah.
oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. And you go through them all, right? And then you may say, I know at the end, right, you can just go and say, so-and-so, I know you mentioned hormonal support. What compliant language your customer is using? But, let me go ahead and go over that with you one-on-one. Once you get this process down, and if you want, you can do LLV as well. This is kind of advanced, but like one of my clients does what's called a Home Essential Plus and a Family Physicians Plus. So it's a custom kit that she's basically made up, but it's a Home Essentials Plus LLV. Right? So it's $355, not $275, but that's how she presents the price.
So it's that kit, and then you add it on.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which that's horrible because you should never buy LLV with an enrollment.
Okay, well, yeah, that's, you guys figure that stuff out.
It's too expensive. You need to get it on your LRP.
Well, right. And so then maybe that's what you do in your wellness consult, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that person orders it herself and then just texts it in.
Oh, maybe she
I don't know anything about that kind of stuff. You heard Melissa for that.
That was sharp that you caught that, Melissa. I would have taken it and seeker.
Well, how about we'll go with what I know, which is the 10, right? So obviously you're going to work with everybody, but from a simplicity perspective, it's a lot easier if you work with that first kit, and you get a lot less I'll think about it. There's nothing to think about. 15 mils or 5 mils. It's not a very hard decision, right? So that helps with that. And then, of course, you can work with it one-on-one, right? So family physician kit with the Clary Calm as a kicker, right? And add that to the order. When you're going through the Home Essentials kit, don't talk about properties. Talk about how it helps them personally. So let's say in your health goals, I'll just use mine, right? So mine would be like asthma, my husband's dry skin, and my 3-year-old is crazy, like cuckoo, makes me, actually, I'm crazy because of my 3-year-old, right? Okay. So if we were to go through, right, you could start with something like lemon, and instead of saying lemon has blah, 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 right, here's what it does. You would just turn around saying, okay, Tasha, so lemon, this is one you're going to use when you get that mucus in your throat because of your asthma and your allergies. That's going to help with that. You're going to use this if your kid is going crazy. She can smell this, and she's going to feel better in a more positive mood. And as soon as your customer nods their head, you can move on to the next one. Because now they've seen themselves using it. So it's more important for them to see themselves using it than for them to hear about how you use it. And that's a big distinction. This is a completely different rant, but their story is more important than your story. So their story is the one that they whip out the credit card for. Yours, not so much. So when you go through, if I said weight loss, you won't just give the clinical things for Deep Blue. You'll say, hey, you know how you're trying to work out a lot because you're losing weight? Yes. Okay, so when you get sore, this is one you're going to use to feel better. Right? You know how you're working out a lot? You want to work out in the morning because you want to lose weight? Yes. Okay, so you know how you're really groggy, you don't want to do it? Right? Okay, take a sniff of this peppermint and it's going to wake you up. Right? And you can hear, you can see them going, oh, I totally get that. You get me. And that's how they connect. And that also, kind of to bring it back, there's nothing to think about anymore, Melissa, when you explain your kits like that.
And when you say that, is that when you you give everybody a drop on their hand or something and let them try it?
Yeah, that would be up to you.
Okay.
I think sampling's overrated. That's a completely different rant. Melissa and I have talked about that. I'm going to stay out of this one for today. But yeah, okay, I'll stay out of that one. Customers just need to understand how they're going to use it. That's it, right? And when they understand how they're going to use it, they'll try it with their own oils. It's cool. Right? Like they're not that worried about it if they understand how it's going to make their life better. And that's why you have to ask them about the goals, and that's why you have to tie it back personally versus just peppermint does X, Y, Z. Here, try it. That's better than nothing, but it's even infinitely better to say peppermint's going to help you in these 4 situations. Right? And if it's not going to help them every day, you just acknowledge that. So, your major goal is weight loss. Now, and you'll have to forgive my essential oils knowledge. I think I'm okay, but if I'm wrong, just forgive me and just try to take home the point. So like On Guard is not necessarily going to help you with that. So you may not use this every day, but you'll definitely be glad you have it when your husband catches a cold and brings it home. And that way, this is what you'll use. You'll diffuse it throughout the house. So that way it doesn't spread through your entire family. And now you've missed a whole week of work. Right? So missing a week of work, I do not want that. Give me that On Guard. You guys see that, how that works?
Yeah.
Good? All right. The 4th key, and this is just something to consider. This is probably the one that I would say you would add later once you've mastered some of these other concepts, would be to share the success stories of others, relatable to their personal situation. So a lot of times, advocates will be trained to tell their personal stories, but remember, you're the one selling them, so there's a little bit of a distrust there from the customer perspective. But if you can tell a story of someone who is in their exact same situation, it helps to connect the dots a little bit better, and it feels a lot more like truth to them. So let's say, they have kids, right? So I'm talking about On Guard. So earlier, Melissa, you mentioned that you want to keep from getting sick since you have small kids in daycare. So my friend Sarah was in the same situation, and she diffuses On Guard every day in her home in case they bring some germs home, and it's really helped to keep stuff from spreading to every member of the family. So that's one of the things you'll use this for. Stories work really well for things like the Share program or hosting classes. Like one of my friends utilized a Share program, earned $120 in free product just by having a few friends over. It works really well when you're leading your team, success stories. Hey, I just got off the phone with Sarah. You saw me do this earlier, right, to grab your attention. One of my clients, Sarah, sold 12 out of her last 12 using this approach, 10 of them being Home Essentials kits. Do you see how that made you go like, oh, I need to pay attention to this?
Mm-hmm.
So even with your team, right, when you're giving advisement, if you can bring in a success story to back it up, it becomes evidence for your case. Good? Any questions on that one?
No, but if you guys hear me telling lots of story about my friend.
Know where you learned that.
So do you pretty typically do that then?
I do.
Because you said you should add later. Does that mean add after you get more comfortable?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, after you get more comfortable.
Okay, so you can skip that part.
Depending on your comfort level, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're just starting out, I'm sure you
have a lot of success.
Yeah, you
I mean, I have a lot of examples.
Yeah, but you can use other people's examples.
Yeah.
Or just make those examples other people's
Make up an
examples.
example.
Yeah, just make it up.
No, make it real. Just call Melissa and ask for examples for everyone.
There you go.
Yeah, she has them. Or you can just say one of our customers, right? One of my friend's customers, my friend's cousin. Like, that's all fine. You don't need a ton of these, but it helps when you have them. And then the 5th key kind of ties back to the Home Essentials Family Physicians Kit conversation, is to lock when you close. So this is what most people think is the close, although I taught you about how to close from the beginning. At the ending part, be very simple, right? So we've talked about 10 kits. Their choices, especially if you're new, are basically 15 mils or 5 mils. And so this also, like the enrollment kit, if you talk to any sales professional that's out of network marketing, they would never give 7 options. It's too much to think about, right? You're basically inviting that objection.
Do you think it's important for them to see the, sorry, do you think it's important for them though to see the other options there on the page? Because like they need to see that they're not getting the most expensive kits.
Yeah, that's a good question. So this also comes with comfort level. So like for you, Melissa, I would close on every oil kit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Based on your expertise, I know you're good. But like if you're okay with hearing no, right? Like you do want to get a couple no's out in the beginning. That's really, really good. So, but what I would recommend is just take it like a champ instead of a silent no, right? Just go ahead and close with, this is the Home Essentials kit or Natural Solutions kit. This is the Home Essentials. Here's what comes in this. Here's what comes in this. If you were to get one, which would you prefer? Well, I would not prefer the most extravagant one. I'll prefer the Home Essentials kit. Great. Do you want to get it? Okay, I'm not getting the most, right? So you do the same thing, but you have more control.
Okay.
By giving 2 options. When you start to get in, especially the specialty kits, it's very overwhelming. It's like if you were to talk to your husband and say, here are 7 options for dinner. What do you think? You would never eat, right? Do you guys remember, I used to work at Blockbuster Video before I started selling knives. You know, people would stay in there for freaking ever. Why?
Too many movies.
Too many choices. And you know what a lot of people would leave with? Nothing. You guys know people spend more time browsing Netflix and watching on Netflix?
So true.
Mm-hmm.
So if we know that about them, right, can we for the most part agree that the Home Essentials kit is pretty much the best starter kit there? In most instances, like 90%, is that fair?
Yeah.
So as the expert, share that with them. I was doing a workshop for a bunch of local people the other day, and someone asked me, why did you pick the Serenity and the Deep Blue? And I said, because my person told me to get them. Because she said, well, this is for this and this is for this. And I said, okay. And if she would have told me to buy the Family Physicians kit, I probably would have said, okay. So by us leaving the closing process, think about how that makes your customer feel, right? With all those different options. And if you already know their health goals, and so the health goals need to be at the beginning, not at the end. So I know some people will teach you to talk about their health goals as you're walking around, but now they're not connected. Now they're mixing goals with buying versus goals with you caring about them. And that starts to get a little bit messed up. So if you just go around, right, and just say, okay, here's what we talked about. Most people start with this one or this one. Which would you prefer? It's a really easy situation for them to make a choice in. And if they say no, then you can go from there.
I love how you do it, Tasha, because I feel like it gives the class so much more purpose. Like it's not just you're arbitrarily teaching about these 10 oils and then they're going to happen to fit into their health concerns. But
Right.
they're fitting in on purpose.
Correct. And that's how it feels for the customer.
Exactly.
And so they get it. So like if you did that, right, and if you don't have to cover every oil, every person. So say you have 5 people in the class, right? You don't say, and you'll use lemon for this, and you'll use lemon for this, and right? You don't have to do that. You can just popcorn 1 or 2 people, and everybody else goes, oh, okay, I get it. And once you see them nod their head, you can move on to the next one. And it literally takes 60 seconds per oil. I'm not kidding, right? You can see that, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I were to personalize it, because as much as you want them to care about everything, they're not going to remember it anyways, right? There's a reason we all have books, right?
So if you don't have 10, if you do not have but they haven't shared with you 10 health concerns. So when you go through each of the oils, you're not going to have one for somebody.
Correct.
So then you say you have, well, whatever one there could be.
Well, but Marilyn, they could overlap. I mean, some of them are going to overlap and some might not be for anything, but everybody wants to, if nobody says anything about lavender, everybody wants to sleep better. So then you can just talk about it with that. Or nobody wants to get sick.
Yeah.
Or everybody does get sick. Yeah, so you talk about On Guard or oregano there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll give you a real quick example. Then obviously my job is not to teach you compliance. That's Melissa's job. So none of this is going to be compliant.
That's okay.
I'm going to teach you in theory how it works. Okay. So let's say we use my husband's dry skin, my asthma, and my child that's crazy, right? So if you were one-on-oneing me, you would start with lemon, I explained, right? Lavender, this is one potentially. Thanks, Melissa. By the way, Serenity's working way better at night.
Good.
That you could use to calm your girl down. And since you mentioned you have a 3-year-old, does she get cuts and scrapes at school? Yes? Okay, great. This is one you can put on for that. Or if you get bug bites in the summer when you're outside playing. Oh, thanks. I didn't even think about that. Awesome, right? The next one in your kit, right? And so you all say it's in your kit, is the peppermint. Earlier you mentioned your asthma. This will help you to clear up your airways. Also, like if you wake up in the morning, you're feeling a little groggy because you have 2 small children and you're tired, you can smell this and you're gonna feel better, right? Or if you're, if your daughters get a little tummy ache, right? But you're not gonna give them Pepto-Bismol, right? You can rub, I know none of this is okay, but you guys hopefully you at least understand what I mean.
It's all good.
Right, you can rub a little bit on their tummy to help them to feel better, right? I didn't mention my kid's tummy ache, but I have kids. So it's still personalized to me, right? Then I might go to Melaleuca. This is great to add with the lavender to make a little bit of an owie spray. It's also great for blah, blah, blah. It works really well on my drippy stuff in my throat, which technically isn't on the box, but I don't know. I think that's cool, right? Then I can go into On Guard and oregano. My daughter, you have a young child, so do I, right? She got the stomach flu. She was on her scooter within 6 hours of throwing her first vomit because of the On Guard, Melaleuca, and oregano, right? So we've already gone through, so if you're missing one, right? Digestin might not be one you use every day. But when you go to the Super Bowl party, you eat half a pizza and 20 buffalo wings? Yes? Okay, this is the one you're going to want to use then. Right? And you're also going to want this for Thanksgiving. You're going to want this for Christmas. You're going to want this for any of those big family gatherings, or just whenever you have a date night with your husband and you eat too many mozzarella sticks.
True.
Right? And they're going to go, okay, I didn't mention eating too many mozzarella sticks is one of my health goals. But, isn't it everybody's health goal, really, if we think about it? Does that help you to understand how to do that?
Yeah.
All right, cool. What other questions do you, those are the 5 points that I have, so now I'm just good for questions.
I have one. What's your response to "I can't afford that"?
Okay, no problem. Here is an intro kit. It's $30 cash. Would you like to get that instead?
Okay. I get that one a lot. They're too expensive. And I have things go through my head like, okay, well, you just went and got your nails done.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you got your hair dyed, or, but I don't say that to them. I'm just trying to find a good way to compare it to what are their priorities in their life?
Yeah, so there's 2 approaches to closing. One is reactive, which is overcoming objections and calling and following up a gazillion times. And that works to an extent. I teach a proactive approach, which is to handle objections before they come up. So you'll notice with the format I taught you today, they're not going to have a lot of those. So my first challenge to you would be try this format and see how much you get it. So this should land you around 70%, as long as the people you're meeting with have jobs, okay? So there's a couple things going on here. The first thing you want to look at if you're getting a lot of I can't afford it, let me back up. First, do your statistics. If you're out of 10 people, 1 or 2 of them is saying I can't afford it, just toss it out as a no sale. If it's more than 5 people out of 10 that are saying I can't afford it, then you need to check your customer base. Are you meeting with people in the target market, I would say 30 to 60, who somebody in their house needs to have a job? Okay? If that's the case, if it's not, right, if you're meeting with a 21-year-old with no job and they can't afford it, it's because it doesn't have value to them. They're not really in your target market, so that's the culprit.
All right.
If it's someone who can't afford it and they're on unemployment, they're not in your target market, dismiss it for that reason. It doesn't mean your presentation wasn't good. It doesn't mean your closing need work. It means that they're not a qualified customer. Now, if you've done everything like we've talked about, the other option that I teach is to have a cheap option. That way, everybody leaves with something. This is important for a few reasons. A lot of them, they're with their friends, right? They want to save face, and they do want to get something. So most wellness advocates will then give them 1 oil. But once you do 1 oil and an enrollment fee, how much are we talking about here?
$50 plus.
$50 for 1 oil. Are you kidding me? Right? That's not helpful to my life. But if you sell me an intro kit for cash and I can walk away with it, now I have 3 oils. I'm not going to procrastinate. And you can still just do a normal wellness consult with them and then work out their enrollment in the future.
I like that.
Does that help? Does that answer your question, Stacey?
Yeah, I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
I really like selling the bigger things so you can really sell the, what's best for them.
Oh,
And
I have another thing on selling a different thing.
But I was gonna say, okay, I'll wait.
Do you guys use incentives to get people to class?
Depends.
Yeah.
Okay.
Depends.
So, I would hate, you have to make the decision on your profit margin, so I'm going to go with that. But, you'll have to make this decision. But what works really, really well, especially if your closing percentage is very low and you're very new, is what's called a first call special. And what this is if you buy a kit on my first visit, I will give you X for free. This also eliminates your I have to think about it. When you choose the free thing, what I've seen some of my clients do is they'll either offer, so if you have the intro packs, like if you have a couple on hand, you can break them up, right? And they're pretty cheap, $7. Breathe Stick is $7. So you can say, okay, well, here are 2 most popular kits. Home Essentials $275, Family Physicians is $150. If you were to get one, which would you prefer? Home Essentials, of course, it has a diffuser. Okay, great, because it's if. Okay, well, let me tell you about our first call specials. If you place this order today, then I will give you either the Breathe Stick or this lavender so you can have a good night's sleep tonight, if that was one of their major health goals, and you can go home with it today. Which would you prefer, a Breathe Stick or the lavender? And you would say, I prefer the lavender for free. Okay, great. Well, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you, would you like to get this Home Essentials kit and get the lavender take home tonight for free? And they're like, I have to leave with this lavender. How do I leave with the lavender? I leave with the lavender by buying the kit.
So you're giving them a lavender, and then they'll get the lavender in their kit.
Yeah, because they're going to use it like crazy, right?
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
But it's a 5 ml. So you would need to choose what you wanted to offer, if anything, because it's your profit, right? But that technique works really well, especially for new people who are not so comfortable with the I want to think about, right? Like you're just trying to kind of figure it out. Obviously, it eats into your profit, so you just need to be wise with it. But most people give stuff out like as a raffle or something, and I just think only give free stuff to your customers.
So Tasha, do you do that instead of like doing, like for instance, I do a lot of like either a book or a diffuser for somebody who enrolls? I'll give it their choice, and then that's what I end up leaving with them. So do you do the product instead of the?
Yeah, I think either's fine. I mean, the book and the diffuser are just a higher price point, right?
Not much. We get them pretty cheap.
The books? Yeah. So the book is great, right? The diffusers are cheap. How much are they? No.
We have a wholesale account with Green Air, so we get them really, really cheap.
Okay, so how much are those?
Really nice one is $15.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of the books, if you buy them in bulk, are really inexpensive. They're, $15.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. The concept is the same.
Right.
Right? The concept is, and what you have to do is you have to pick something they care about. Right? So not all your customers will care about a book. They don't get it yet. What I would use the book for is when you do your wellness consult.
As an LRP.
Another $100 order. That's when I would give them the book.
That's a great idea.
That is a good idea with the LRP.
And I would use, because you haven't spent a lot of time building value in the book, so it's probably not as motivating. Because I'm already overwhelmed. You just taught me about 10 oils. Are you kidding me? A book? A textbook? Oil lady, you are high. That's what I'm thinking. Right? Like, you have to take a step back, guys, and think about the first time you ever heard about this stuff. And that's where your customers are. So, like, I don't get it, right? If I have home essentials kit, I mean, obviously, we all know you need 4 diffusers, right? But they don't know that yet. Maybe when you talk about the, and you're probably going to need 4 diffusers, right? As kind of a tongue in cheek. We used to tell people in the knives, you're going to want 2 sets, one for this house and one for your lake house. And they're like, no, I'll just take 1, thanks. Okay, 1's good. But like with the diffusers, you can position that 275 kit as, okay, what's great about this kit is, although you're probably going to need 4 diffusers, this at least comes with 1 to start. Right? But the thing is if they go home with a book or a diffuser, they can't do anything with it. And remember that enthusiasm has a half-life.
Yeah, it took me about a year to figure out how to use that book.
Yeah. So I
think you just ask somebody.
Totally. So, you know, the best way to go about it, and this is kind of a different training, is at the end of that, when you go to schedule your wellness consult, let them know you're going to show them how to get free stuff and game the system. And they'll be like, okay, teach me how to get free stuff and game the system. And that in that appointment is where you're going to set up their next wish list, set up their LRP, and I would incentivize that second order because that's the one that gets you bonuses. Yeah, the second order, right? I'm understanding the comp plan correctly, right?
No, you
LRP.
Yeah, so LRP is the next. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the golden ticket, and if someone orders twice, they're retaining, guys.
Yeah.
So I would put an incentive that they can take home and get the experience right away. Because by the time, if you send them home with an oil, they will use it. By the time you follow up for that wellness consult 5 days later, they will already have people they have talked to people about. But they can't tell other people about the amazing benefits of their book.
That's funny. You have me converted because I am so anti giving out product. I want them to buy product.
Well, you do. They have to buy the product.
But that's such value in giving something out at the class. Like I totally get the concept behind that. But I love the book. I read that thing front to back. Like I'm a book girl.
Yeah. And
well, I did too, Melissa. I started in what is the beginning part of the Modern Essential, which I love.
The science and application.
No, it's science, and here you get all this chemistry, which I like, but I didn't get it at the time. So it was reading that like a novel, not as a usable textbook.
No.
I now have a different approach, but
if you give them a 5 ml of their favorite oil, one of those 4 things that's their favorite, they will already have 3 people for you at that 5-day consult.
Mm.
You can see that, right?
Yeah.
So, like, why do you need to make it so hard to chase them down later for names or a class, right? So in that wellness consult, it will have already come up. You can make a list right there. Let's set you up for your first class. You have 120 days, let's go. Right? And they're like, I am so in. How do I get more of this stuff for free?
All right.
And that also eliminates, I want to think about it. Because they're like, I need that peppermint now. Because it solves all my problems.
Mm-hmm.
It just pushes them over the edge. But then, like, my client Sarah doesn't do first call specials. She sold, like I told you. But
So how soon do you do that wellness consult? Like when they get their kit?
yeah, I'd go right away.
Like
A week.
A week, yeah.
Within a week. And in that one, that's when you take your book. So this is a different training. So then I'll go, okay, so earlier, let me see, where is it? It might be upstairs. So earlier you mentioned allergies, and I'm going to bust out the book, and I'm going to show them how to use it. And I'm going to show them the 5 things, and I'm going to have them write all 5 of them down. And we're going to make a wish list, right? And it's going to be a list this big, and it's going to be linked with every single one of their health goals or things that have even come up. Because by your wellness consult, they'll be like, I didn't even think about, and blah, 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 right? So now you'll have added health goals, and that's when you take their time to maybe write the first 2 or 3 on there, write them down even if they already have them, because they need to know which ones they need to purchase. So like in my situation, we went through breathing eucalyptus, like, and we were basically pouring it down the drain is how it felt. So when you were to set up the LRP with me and say, you're going to use this breathing eucalyptus like crazy, let's go ahead and put one on now because I don't want you to run out and then you have a week before it shows up. And they're like, yes, you know a lot about these things, oil lady. What else should I do? And so you're anticipating their concerns, right? And then you get that guy up to 100 and then you give them the diffuser or the book when that order ships. And so now you're starting to get yourself and your team eligible for bonuses. Right? Once they get that second LRP order and they get 9 points for shipping, and like I said, this is a different training on mastering that LRP order, but you let them know, oh, remember how you go through Breathe like crazy? If you just keep ordering, you're going to basically get a free bottle every month or every other month. What? Awesome. Now you're starting to get a consistent customer, right, that orders consistently because they're addicted to the free oils. Because they've experienced it once because you guided them through their $100 LRP and they got 20 points, right? So now I have 20 points. I can get something pretty good for that. And now I'm like, I'm going to maximize this free stuff. And it works really well.
I like that. So Brooke or Lorraine or Marlene, did you guys have any questions?
No, I'm good. She answered a lot of questions already. That was great.
Good, good.
Cool. So can I tell them about the cheat sheet I made them now? They'll be mad at me now that they've taken all the notes. So
Are you kidding? I take notes for nothing?
no, you take notes to learn.
Helps you remember.
So I made you guys a cheat sheet with the components and the questions and the verbiage on there. So if you guys want to jot down emergesalestraining.com/Melissa.
Emerge.
You have your own custom URL. You're famous, and it's also going to give you a word-for-word script you can use to utilize the share program to parties hosted for you as kind of a bonus freebie, because there's a specific formula you can use to get people like pretty excited about that. So using a lot of the components that I went over today, just in different order. And so since I taught you those components, you can download that as a little cheat sheet. And if you sign up for that, then I'll make sure that you get my blog on a weekly basis and that we are able to stay in touch. So if you want to download that, that kills two birds.
You encourage that share program like at the Wellness Consult?
Yeah.
Okay, can you give the site again? Emerge what?
Emerge Sales Training. Let me put it in the chat.
/
Melissa.
Melissa?
Oh, .com. I missed that part.
.com. EmergeSalesTraining.com.
Can I tell them about my class, Melissa?
Did we tell them what?
Can I tell them about my class?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, do. Please.
Yeah. All right, cool. So if you like what we talked about today, I do have an online class that I run. So here are the things that are in the online class: how to set goals and get organized, like how to set up a database of your contacts so that you don't miss callbacks, how to set up more appointments, like exactly what to say, how to, like, all the details of the sales conversation plus a customer or a company story that gets them like this the whole time, how to craft that, how to close, how to get referrals, how to promote hosting, how to lead your team. Remember how that's a pretty important part. So some components as far as training your team. And I just added a couple weeks ago the follow-up appointment, which for doTERRA would be the wellness consult. The nice thing is since half of my clients are doTERRA, all the examples are doTERRA. So you don't even have to rewrite the scripts. And so you can find that course. I'll go ahead and type it in. At emergeSalesTraining.com/start. It's $197, or you can do 2 payments of $99. And I think I applied, you should have a coupon code called Melissa for 20% off.
Woohoo!
I don't know if I did it. I should go put that in. I don't know if I did it. I'll do it like in a minute after we get off the phone. So I'll give you like $50 off if that's something that you would like to be in.
Yeah, like for weeks or something?
Excuse me?
Is it over so many weeks?
You'll get it all at once, but I recommend one topic a week so that you have time to implement.
Come to us in an email?
Yeah, it's a full online course. You can watch it. All the modules are between 2 and 10 minutes. So you can binge watch it. You can watch one here or there, and it's in an online course format. And so you'll have all these videos that you can go back to, basically on the topics I train, all my scripts, all that stuff, and you'll also have access to me through that course. But yeah, I'll give you the 20% off for Melissa. I'll just set it up after we get off the phone. I don't want to multitask for you guys. So that makes it like almost $50 off.
So, and we could put that info in, like, so we'll post this recording as a YouTube.
Yeah.
As a YouTube in our business page. And then in that, like with that post, like maybe you could put there in the comment section about where to go. Like I'll tag you in it or something and we can.
Yeah, that'll be good. And I'll let the code, so the code is a first call special.
Oh.
So what do we think is fair, Melissa? Friday night? Saturday night? Maybe Saturday night?
So I lost you on that one.
So she's saying the 20% off is a first call special. So it's only good it's a limited time offer.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Not the first
I'll give you a weekend day. So maybe I'll remove it Sunday morning when I wake up. That's fair, right? 3 days?
That sounds good. That gives people a chance to watch it.
Yeah. And that's up to you guys. Either way, it's cool with me. I'm glad to help Melissa because she hooked me up. So.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. Like, I learned a ton.
You're welcome.
I love it. I hope everybody else learned a lot too about how to do classes differently and how to phrase things differently and how to teach. It just enhances everything.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Well, and if you'd like in a month or two, if you want to do something else, I'd be glad to.
That's right, because we have another podcast to do together.
So that
You know,
LRP you were talking about,
yeah, the wellness consult. Yep,
is that part of your class?
it is.
Oh,
It is.
okay.
Yep.
All right.
Very cool.
So you